Hi, everybody. It's Peter here from AJS, also representing our sister business in New Zealand, G&A Warburtons. And once again, we have the delight of taking you into a jeweller's workshop somewhere in Australasia. This week, we're heading to the sunny central coast of New South Wales and
Yep.
the even sunnier Laura McDonald. Welcome, Laura.
Hi, Peter. How are you?
I'm excellent, thank you. All the better for being with you. And yeah, today we've got a presentation with a difference. It's called Class Art, and it's stories about special pieces created by your students.
Yeah, that's
So I've had a little bit of a sneak preview, and I think we've got some exciting things to look at. So, Laura, first of all, just give us a little bit of a background into yeah, your teaching and how that came about and who you do it for.
yeah. So I started. It was just after COVID lockdown. I decided I wanted to start offering some classes um, to homeschool teenagers. I'd been making jewellery for a while, so I'd been metalsmithing for quite some time, and I felt confident enough to teach some homeschool teenagers. We homeschool our children, so I sort of thought of it like an elective for the kids,
Yeah.
and it was just taken so well. So the classes filled up very quickly, and it just formed into a beautiful business. Um, we I ended up teaching homeschool teenagers for about 2.5 years. And then I sort of teach I teach the public now as well. So I opened it up to anyone else that wants to come.
Because your name has got out there.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
did.
So
It
is
just
there a
it just
little community, is there, of homeschool people? Is that the story?
There is, yeah. And then there's Facebook pages. So that's how I sort of started. I just put up a little ad, about what I was offering, and it was just taken so well. And yeah, we just had a blast. And it was a business that, like, it is a business that has just grown really naturally, and just, over the last few years, it's so beautiful.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. Have you got any special stories to tell about students in particular who are success stories out of that?
Yeah, well, I've got quite a few students that, adults that a lot have gone on to start their own career. Sorry. I've got a bit of a cough at the moment.
Yeah.
But yeah, they've gone off to make their own business, making jewelry, and there's lots of success stories there. But one in particular I want to talk about is it's one of my younger students. I won't mention his name, but he's only 12, like nearly 13, and he enters competitions. He almost always wins them, and he runs his own little stall in markets, making jewelry. And he comes back to my classes quite often, and it's just so beautiful. He started with me when he wasn't even 11 yet, so he was still
Okay.
10, and it's just been so beautiful to watch him grow. And he's so passionate about making jewelry, and I know that that's what he'll go on to do as an
Mhm.
adult. It's just really nice to watch. Yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic to have had a part to play in that, Laura. Well
Yeah.
done. Yeah.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
it's been awesome.
Okay, so today we're going to share some stories behind some of the pieces that your students have made. So let's share the screen, shall we?
Yeah.
And okay, here's our first piece.
All right. So it was hard choosing just a few pieces because there have been so many awesome ones over the last almost 4 years. But this one is, so this was made by one of the younger homeschool teenagers.
Yeah.
He started when I think he was around 11 or 12 as well. Very, very hands-on with the tools, like just no fear at all, which scared the life out of me. But he was from Canada, and he was heading back to Canada, and he wanted to take something with him to represent Australia. So we made an Australian key ring. That's what he decided he wanted to create.
Hey,
So
Laura, I love the way that he's incorporated Tasmania.
I know, isn't it funny? Because
Yeah.
we weren't going to add Tassie, and then he said it was actually an opal that I had tried to set, and it had cracked in half. And he looked at it and he said, "Oh, like that looks like a really good Tasmania." And so we worked out how to add Tassie in the bottom there, and we decided to keep it loose on the jump so it could move around a little bit.
No, that's
But
great.
yeah, so that was just, he really enjoyed reusing metal that, might have been, melted down, or he loved reusing the scraps. Yeah. So he hand cut all those layers of Australia. It's made with brass.
Yeah.
So, and it was very thick too. It was around 1 millimeter thick. So he cut those out all by hand.
Wow, he might have had a few calluses at the end, eh?
Yeah. He did so well, but
Yeah.
yeah, we printed I printed the stick, like the image of Australia on some stickers, and then he was able to follow them to cut them out. But see how the top Australia, it's longer in the middle because so we had to make some adjustments with the stencils so they sort of all fit in nicely. But yeah, I just love it, and I love that he did this. He was so determined to do most things on his own, and I know he worked really hard on this piece, and yeah, it's just something to be really proud of.
No, indeed. And how are they bonded together?
So he soldered them all together.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, just layer by layer. I remember once we got to the last 2 layers, it was really, he really had to heat that baby up because it was very chunky. But he did a good job, and I just love it. It's a piece I'll remember forever. Yeah.
And the loop at the top?
Yeah, so that was silver. So the loop on the top. Oh, we ended up attaching a like the top of a key ring to it as well. We didn't intend on, like, it was either going to be a key ring or a pendant. It was just so heavy at the end, it had to be a key ring.
Right.
But yeah, so it's all soldered together. And then I really, even though like we went through all the skills with the kids, I really tried to be as hands off as I could be, so they could learn as many skills as they could. Yeah.
Oh,
So,
well done.
yeah, so he did really well on that one, and so young as well.
No, that's a great story, and he'll treasure that for his life.
I know he will. Yeah.
Okay, let's see what's next, shall we?
So these are made. So there were 2 boys that I was teaching.
Yeah.
They were around 14, and I loved pairing people together, whether it was a group or just a couple of children. I sort of tried to put them with kids that I knew that they'd sort of maybe be able to form a friendship with. So these 2 blokes, they really loved their classes together, and they were also very, very good with their. They were just really creative and had really good flame control with their soldering. And so we created I suppose it's like it was a little tube thing, jar that you could latch on, and you could put whatever you want in there, whatever secret stuff. There were letters or whatever they wanted to hide in there.
Okay.
And so we made those over probably about 5 weeks, because they were only doing a couple of hours a week,
Yeah.
But it was a really challenging thing for them to do, because to make the cap, they had to also make the part that sits on the inside so it's able to latch in properly.
Mm.
I wanted them to do as much as possible. So I know that was quite challenging, soldering all those bits together, but they just came together really well. And I love the way brass, when it's polished, it looks so shiny and precious. So
It does. It's got a real elegance to it, doesn't it?
It does, doesn't
Yeah.
it? Yeah, but they made them almost identical to each other. I don't think I can't even tell the difference between them in the photos.
Okay, so they made 2 of them. Is that the story?
Yeah, so there were 2 of them. So these
Okay.
are different. I
Right.
don't know what ones they are, but they are different.
Okay.
But they twisted the metal on the top. So they did that, and then made the tubes. So, and then had to make the cap to go on top. So there was lots of soldering, little tiny details. Isn't it cool?
It
Just so
is.
fun. And they latched together so well.
And so the inspiration for this, where did you get that from?
That's one thing I found with the kids. They just had ideas. I'd ask them, oh, what do you want to make this week? And they'd just throw ideas at me. They were always thinking about what they could create next. With this one, we actually sat down and we drew some pictures, so we knew what all the elements would be made from, and what parts we had to solder first and things like that. So there was a bit of planning for this one, but yeah, they would have said to me, I want to make blah, 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 and then we would have just created this out of their ideas.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
And again, that's something that they will treasure for a lifetime.
Yeah, for sure. That's
Yeah.
it. And they did so well. Even soldering like the chain onto the side, which is a really hard thing to do, because, the tube was quite thick, and the little chain, I know that chain melts really easily. But yeah, they did such a good job with it.
Oh, well done. Will we move on to the next piece?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh,
Yeah.
boy, there's a bit happening here. What have we
There
got
is,
here,
isn't
Deborah?
there?
Yeah.
Yeah, so then I thought I better do a few adult pieces. So this is one made by one of my students that, so she's an adult, and she will come back to classes. She does make jewelry on her own now, but she just wanted to learn. So she had a hobby, and she was really determined to learn as many skills as possible. So we did probably about 4 or 5 classes before this one here. And then once she got to this class, we knew that she wanted to make something with a lot of details, and where she had to use a lot of skills to create that piece. So the inspiration, well, it sort of started from, I make pieces that are very similar with lunar moths and butterflies and stuff, like the frame, the circular frame. So we based the idea around that. She really loves opals. So she had the opal. She bought the opal beforehand, and we brought it in. And then we just we really planned this one out on paper and with stencils and stuff to figure out where she knew she wanted, some mushrooms and some clouds and stuff like that. And then we went through like what metals they might be, what texture some might have. So they sort of, with the clouds, she knew she wanted some sort of texture on them to make them sort of, have a difference between the layers on top.
Yeah.
So yeah, we fiddled around with a few different textures, and she cut all of those out with the handsaw. And then the blobs, I'm pretty sure, I think they're brass. I'm pretty sure they're brass.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so I know she did all the cutouts first and textured the clouds, added like engraving on the mushrooms and the moth. And then we sat there and we sort of figured out where all the pieces would go. And, oh, that's right, there were gaps. And I like to fill my gaps with the balls.
Okay.
So that's when we decided, all right, we'll chuck some balls in there because it looked a bit bare in some areas. And it really came together at the end. And then, yeah, the opal was the piece the original piece we started with. And, yeah, I just think it looks so magical. And it was really a piece that she was able to, test all of the skills that we'd learned over the year that we'd been working together. So,
Okay. Yeah. Well done.
yeah,
That's a pendant?
it is, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, there's a lot happening, and you'd just enjoy sitting there and just looking at everything, wouldn't you?
Looking at all the elements, that's right. And the fact that she'd probably only done even though it was like 4 or 5 classes, I do try to keep my classes within that day, so it might be 5 hours or so. That's not a lot when it comes to metalsmithing and soldering and working on your technique.
Well, that time could drift by very quickly, hey?
Yeah, that's right. So she did a phenomenal job with that one.
Congratulations to her and to you for your guidance. Yeah, well done. Okay. What have we got next, Laura? Let's have a look.
Oh, mate, this is one I'm really proud of.
Yeah.
Oh, isn't it incredible? We are doing a lot of wax carving and sand casting lately. It's something that is really popular. Students are loving it. So am I. But this one was carved. So the lady, she is just a phenomenal artist. She does a lot of painting and, a creative person. And so she'd done a 4-day beginners workshop with me and a few other little workshops. And then she decided she wanted to do some wax. So she actually took some tools home and some wax and carved this at home. And then she came back for the wax class and I looked at it and I was like, I don't have a flask big enough to cast that.
Oh, no.
So we rebooked another class for a few weeks later and I was able to order in a jumbo flask. It was so funny because I was when it came to casting in the sand, I'd almost run out of my favorite Delft clay, which it's just the really smooth one that is able to pick up the really, really fine details.
Yeah.
And the flask was so big, I knew I didn't have enough of that Delft clay to fill up the big flask. So I had some Petrobond, some of the chunkier sand. So we filled up the flask with the rough stuff. And then on the face of the side of the flask that was going to have the front impression, we put a layer of the finer Delft clay that was able to pick up the details.
Oh, good
thinking. So on the opposite side, it has the roughness of the other Delft clay.
And that's the opposite side there.
Yeah, so it picked up the really rough, but I think it actually works really cool together. And then the front, we were able to just pick up as many details as possible. We ended up casting it 3 times to get the perfect impression, because
Okay.
we just really wanted to pick up as many details as possible.
Great job. Great
And
job.
she did all that carving herself, and it was the first time she'd ever, had a go at wax carving. And I love it. I love all the details that she's added to it. And she was so determined to perfect every step, so she knew that she did that whole thing. So yeah, we had a few accidents along the way. One of the flasks opened up and the metal flew out all over the table.
Oh, no.
So I've got a memory forever, a burnt table, which I just think it adds character.
Yeah. Were
But
you
yeah,
able to salvage that metal?
oh yeah,
Yeah.
the metal was fine. Yeah, but she was just so determined to make sure that she knew she could walk away and that she'd done all those steps herself. And it just came together so beautiful. It's a piece, yeah, I'll remember this one forever. I love it.
Oh, fantastic. We'll just have a quick revisit of the
Yeah.
pieces we've just talked about today. And there's a whole wide variety. That's the beauty too.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
it. That's it. There's been, so many pieces of jewelry made over the nearly 4 years of teaching, and it was beautiful to go back and look at all of the memories and the happy snaps of
Mm.
the people creating their pieces, and it does make me feel really proud of how far we've come. Yeah, it's just I love my job. I
Oh, well,
love.
Laura, that comes across in spades. So a big
Yeah,
congratulations to you, because you're doing what you do because you want to help other people.
yeah,
And I love the way you said you want them to sort of do as much as
yeah,
they can themselves to
yeah,
learn, make their own mistakes and
yeah.
learn from that.
And I
And
think, can I
the
just
pride
add,
you have in their results it comes
that's
through.
it. But I
Yeah.
just want to add, like, I've always known that being creative and having a creative outlet is so good for your mind. But
Mm.
this in particular, when I started metalsmithing, I was in a very dark place. And this, I know it sounds so corny, but it helped me through those times. And I love being able to pass that on to my students. And, I know a lot of them have stressful jobs, and for them to be able to come in here and have that outlet, I love that I can give them that. And I
Yeah.
just want their time in here to be as special as possible. But yeah, it's very cool.
Well, you're the right person for the right job, and you're doing a great job. So
Thanks,
thank
Peter.
you for everything you do on behalf of all your students and all those students' parents as well. And and thank you for your contribution to our online presentation today.
Thanks for having
Louise.
me, Peter.
No, pleasure. And we'll look forward to having you and everybody else back again sometime real soon.
Great. Thank you.